I am a modern bladesmith, typically working with modern tools and modern materials. But what happens if you remove that modern convenience that we're so accustomed to in today's world? Well, in today's video, we're going to strip away the luxury of material and try to create steel using a method that is several thousand years old. Now the first thing we need to do is go to the hardware store and get some supplies, that way we can actually build the smelting furnace. So let's do that. The supplies we need in order to create this steel are as follows. We need fire brick, some form of iron pipe. We also need a couple bags of charcoal to make things hot. So we're at my parents to see if they have some goodies. Thanks, guys. Thank you to my parents. All right, so we got the pipe. Now let's go get the fire brick. I didn't know there were so many types of charcoal. We got charcoal, 2 bags, 60 pounds. All right, time to get some fire brick, and then we can start prepping things for the smelt. These are really heavy. The first step is we need to build the actual kind of furnace that we're going to be smelting the steel in. So to do that, we're going to take our fire brick on top of a steel plate here and basically just build up a little ring the whole way around. And now we got to wrap it in tie wire, basically just to help hold everything together. The next step is we need to prepare the tweer, which is the part that's going to blow the air into the actual furnace. So to do that, we're going to cut our pipe. Plenty of air. The final touch. All right, the furnace is ready. The next step is we need to now chop our charcoal up into smaller pieces, because in order to save money, I bought it in log form. So that's not exactly what we want though for such a small furnace to be able to actually burn it efficiently. So I gotta chop it into little bitty pieces, so it's gonna take me a minute. And now we do that a lot, for a while. We now have everything ready to go for our iron melt. Now, if you haven't picked up by now, the method we're going to be using to create steel is Oroshigane. This is a Japanese method of taking iron, which doesn't have enough carbon for blades, melting it in the presence of charcoal, and thus adding carbon to it, turning it into steel. This forms a sort of bloom if it's done properly, and then you consolidate it similar to how you would do with like traditional tamahagane. Something I found really cool while researching this topic for this video is if you look back at some of the traditional katanas, there's certain examples where the tangs are literally signed with Oroshigane, indicating that they were made with this process. Basically, a swordsmith could take iron nails, iron scrap metal, whatever it was, and refine it into usable sword steel. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to be using an old iron wagon wheel, which you just watched me cut up into really small chunks. I'm also going to be using this 200-year-old wrought iron post vise. Now that we have our starting material prepared, we can go ahead and start up the furnace and begin the melt. So I'm going to go ahead, set some paper on fire, just gently try to build that up a little bit. Oh, I got an idea. This ought to do it. I have made fire! I just hope my steel plate doesn't melt. We're gonna try to kick a little bit of air into it and see if that helps to kind of get the thing going. Now that our fire is at a temperature, I can move on to separating the iron that we cut up into small little piles that we're calling charges. These will get added one at a time into the fire, that way they slowly melt down through the charcoal, creating steel at the bottom.
We're making steel!
As we added the last few charges to the furnace, I became more and more hopeful that this whole thing was a success.
So the next step is, now that all of our charges have had time to sort of, blend down together and burn through, what we're gonna do is dig around in there and see if we have any sort of bloom. This is the exciting part because now we can find out if it actually worked or not. So another minute or two of burning and we will pull it out and go ahead and start to try to consolidate whatever's in there. Who knows what could be in there? There could be, who knows? Anything could be in there. We've got a bloom! Ah! The bloom fell!
Alright, hammer.
Alright, yep.
Ready?
Alright,
let's go ahead.
How do you want to consolidate this? Just tap it. Wow,
Yeah.
you really tap it there. I broke it.
Check out that. So let's spark test it and see what happens.
Now compare that to a piece of wrought iron. We've added carbon! We've made steel! Now what? squished together and held there, so we'll kind of know once I start tapping it from different sides. If it starts to break apart again, then we'll know that we're kind of might be cooked. But if it holds, better believe we're gonna make a blade out of this thing.
I don't feel too good about where we're at right now. After this steel broke apart on me like this, I pretty much gave up all hope of salvaging this first melt, which was somewhat heartbreaking. You see, one of the biggest mistakes that I made here is that I had no way of controlling the airflow with the shop vac. This meant that I had an uncontrollable flame, which ended up producing, I think, something closer to cast iron rather than actual usable steel. We're not going to give up just yet though, and to fix this, the next morning I ran to the hardware store to pick up some parts so we could try again. Okay, so we got the parts that I needed, and we're totally not assembling it in the back seat of a car. So essentially, there is a 90-degree connector that hooks up to this little connector bit here. People are looking at me weird. And then we got our ball valve, or wastegate, as they called it. Whatever that is. You can see, as we crank this, it opens up so that it allows more or less air in. Now we can actually control the intensity of the flame, whereas yesterday, when we were trying to do it with just the shop vac, we had no control over how hot that fire was burning. For the second attempt at this melt, I'm going to be using some of those chunks of post vise that we cut up yesterday. Oh yeah, Silas and Gabriel are also here to help. It's going to be a good day.
Oh yeah, dude! Yeah, dude!
Worst striking team ever.
Okay. Now, as you can see, after the second melt, we had a much more successful go. Not only did this spark like super high carbon steel, but it also worked and felt much better under the hammer than what the previous one did. Speaking of hammering, we're now going to move on to trying to consolidate this down into little kind of tiles that we're then going to stack up and begin to fold, similar to how traditional Japanese swords are made. This will help to work out the impurities that are found in the bloom at the moment, as well as work it into a homogeneous piece of steel.
After many hours and many folds, we're now left with some usable steel. We actually ended up getting 2 pieces out of this, which was an added bonus. Alas, it is time for Silas and Gabriel to head back to their shop up in New York, and it's now time for me to do something with this metal. Let's go ahead and proceed to forge this out, and I'm excited.
I know what you're probably thinking. Why are we back at my parents'? And I don't have a welder. That's why. So, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and weld on a tang and then finish this thing out and get it quenched.
You probably noticed that we just water quenched this blade. This is because water quenching for this type of steel brings out more of the character and activity in the pattern. So for the handle of this knife, I had this piece of antler here, and I kind of, given the sort of theme or nature of the blade and how rough and organic it is, I like the idea of using this as our handle material. So we're going to go ahead and cut it apart and just sort of see what it might look like.
I decided to use Bolivian rosewood. Let's cut it up and fit it up. Finish the knife. Woo!
Okay, now let's get some reveal shots.